sounds so crazy. It's the last week of October. Like, how? I feel like just a few weeks ago, you and I were on a Lumio Live and we're like, we're back for the school year. And now it's October 28th.
I already have to start thinking about what I'm cooking for Thanksgiving dinner.
Oh, God, I haven't even thought about that yet. Oh, man. Well, we have so many choices that we can do that we can cook for Thanksgiving. That leads us right into what we're going to be talking about today. And it's really thinking from transitioning from teacher led learning to student driven learning. And what better way to do that than with a choice board? So I'm really pumped to be here today with Lindsay, who joined us on Lumio Live a few weeks ago or last month, even because time is flying. And we got together and we thought, let's talk about choice boards because I just think it's such a great way to promote engagement with our students. What do you think, Linz?
Agreed. I have seen student engagement flourish when doing choice boards in my own classroom because students really feel like they're getting to pick what they're learning and guide themselves in the subjects that we're teaching.
We were just talking backstage about COVID times. Whew, what a scary time. Speaking of spooky season. And we were thinking about like just different ways that we really were encouraging our students to stay engaged in their learning. But outside of just staying engaged, it's also such a really great way to give our students autonomy over their work and really be able to be motivated to learn because not only does everyone have their own preference and their own skill set, but also it makes it so nice when you get to make that choice. And when we're thinking about specifically our neurodivergent students, it really helps to support those different learning styles and their different learning processing speeds. And I think for me especially, I like it because it reduces anxiety because you know what's coming next because you have that ability to make a choice, which in Lumio, there's two things that we can do. So we're going to show you how easy it is to make a choice board in here because as of, I think this came out maybe early spring last year, you can link different pages that makes it really easy to make a choice board. But you also have the ability, once you're presenting a lesson, to go to your class management and also toggle your lesson pacing to student mode. Linz, what do you think about student pacing mode?
I think student pacing mode is great because as the teacher, you can model in teacher pacing and then within the same exact lesson, switch it to student pacing, which lets students go back and check old work and, refer back to materials. Like you said before, reducing that anxiety of, not having access to either the video or the book or whatever they're using to help them with their work. They can go back and reference it as often as they need.
That's amazing. So what we've done here is we're imagining that our students are in class and they've just finished reading the book Wonder, which if you haven't read that book, even as an adult, I highly recommend. There's also a picture book version and they also came out with a movie. So lots of different ways to access that story. I think it's just such a wonderful book. But I always like to think of different ways that my students can then reflect on the book that they've read and show their comprehension. And if there was something else we were focusing on, like character growth, or we're learning about themes, different ways that students really can showcase that. So what we've done here is a few different ways. Now, I know with choice boards, we can always make it in different orders, like you might make different columns with different colors and tell students they have to pick something from the green, the yellow, and the red column. You might organize this in a way where no matter what side they pick from, they end up picking something that maybe is more challenging, one that's a game, one that's a little bit more evaluative, one that's more fun. And Linz had a really fun idea, actually, and she thought of creating a podcast. So you'll see here, I'm rolling my mouse over, and you can tell that I've got something that's clickable. So if I go over here, it'll take me right to this page. So as a student, I've got it in student pacing mode, and you'll see that I've now jumped right over to that exact page I needed to be on. So as that loads, now it's giving me that pop-up queuing that I need some students to join. But because Lumio Lives are so short, we typically don't ask you to do that. But during webinars and trainings, we always do. But this is a really quick way for them to really create their activity. So they really think of a comprehension question, which helps us to see their understanding of the story. And here I've kind of given them some very specific instructions. I also want you to have a conversational piece that's going to talk on the theme, talk on the character growth, really encourage them to make that personal text to self connection. And also, this is just a really fun activity. What do you think?
Yeah, I think a podcast is awesome because it also allows students to show their learning in so many different ways. You have asking them to draw a picture, but also write what they're understanding and then use that add audio feature in Lumio. So students have multiple ways to show their understanding. And like you said before, it reduces that anxiety if they know they don't have to type up, a big, massive paragraph. They can write down their ideas and then share them verbally.
Exactly. So the same exact activity, I also had one where instead they were doing a text conversation. So just like Lindsay is saying, when we're thinking about addressing all of our learners, they have different ways to display their knowledge. And also we want to make sure that we're giving them a really safe space to do so. So while typing a conversation might be really difficult for one student, coming back to that podcast and maybe being able to access our toolbar, I'm going to come back into that handout here, and being able to record themselves versus typing and having that anxiety taken away of spelling and all those different things, it might make our students more comfortable. For me too, I was actually presenting a session at a conference last week, and I was saying, if you asked me to write down, do like a written test on something, I would not have done well. But if you just speak to me about it, there is a 9 out of 10 chance I'll feel really comfortable just telling you how I feel, and you'll get a really good understanding of what I fully understood in the concept. So that's a really great way that we can do a choice board here. Again, you really can categorize how they end up picking. So you can still get a game that gives you some really good data that you can export, which Linz and I spoke about at another Lumio Live, or you can do some more comprehension type activities.
And I noticed that you used for the tic-tac-toe board one of our pre-made templates in Lumio. So if you don't want to have to go through and create your own choice board, this tic-tac-toe board is automatically in the Lumio library, and you can just pop it right in and have a template ready to go.
I love that you called that out. There are so many templates ready. Excuse me. There are so many templates ready to go for you in the Lumio library. So saving you time as the teacher, this template was ready. Linz and I just came in and added our own choices. And these pieces here will already infinitely clone for us. So really easy to just get going. All you have to do is go to Lumio library and just type in tic-tac-toe choice board. And it should be one of the first few options that comes up. We did spend some time today talking about supporting our neurodivergent students. And that's something that we really care deeply about at Smart and Lumio. And so if you didn't know, last year, we actually partnered with the University of Melbourne to do some research on really supporting neurodivergent students and thinking of research-based strategies to support them, specifically using tech, and then even more specifically using tools like a smartboard or Lumio, whichever one you have. And we have put together this really nice I guess 2-pager with all the different strategies that you can try out. So if you're just focused on Lumio, there's this nice chart that you can take a look at here. I'm going to zoom in. But one of the strategies was really focused on promoting student voice. I clicked on it, so it took me there. Promoting student voice and agency, and really thinking about giving them that choice. And it really helps them to apply their knowledge or skill set in a more authentic way without giving them that anxiety or challenging them to do something that maybe won't give us that authentic representation of where they're at in their learning.
Yeah, and to tie it back to our concept today, Meesh, what I really loved about this research was that they asked the students themselves, how do they think they learn best, or what could help them in their own learning? And so it's bringing back that student-driven learning, right? In the University of Melbourne, they asked those students what they wanted to see in their technology use in the classroom to help them engage more in the content that they're learning every day.
That's amazing. Well, thank you so much, Linz, for being here with us today. This happens to be one of my favorite topics to talk about. And there's still so many different ways that we can support our neurodivergent learners and all of our students using technology. So thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.
Yeah. Thanks, Meesh.